Good morning, and welcome to the Daily Roast Radio, where the news is piping hot and the coffee is strictly for the hosts.
And the audience, Joe. We love our audience. I'm Jane, and that's Joe, and we're here to kickstart your morning with a fresh batch of headlines that somehow got even weirder overnight.
It's Friday, which means the universe is officially phoning it in. We've got stories that will make you question reality, language, and the very concept of competitive advantage.
A Friday indeed, Joe. The kind where the coffee needs its own coffee, and the headlines are just trying to outdo each other in pure absurdity.
Timestamp for the roast, Friday, 27 March 2026, 0931.
And the weather outside, partly cloudy, 3C, feels like 0C, wind 11 kilometers per hour. Good conditions for headlines, questionable conditions for hairstyles.
So, perfect conditions for a radio show, terrible for anyone attempting to look presentable on a video call, especially if you're battling that 11 kilometer per hour wind.
Seriously, folks, pour another cup. You're going to need it. From emotional bilingualism to self-aware corporate cultures, we're covering it all.
Prepare for cognitive whiplash and maybe a little existential dread, served with a side of puns.
Strap in, it's going to be a bumpy yet surprisingly pun-filled ride. Let's dive right into the political pot, shall we? All right, from the world of international relations and very specific emotional demands, our first story. Quebec declares Air Canada CEO existential threat to French culture after failure to weep bilingually.
An English-only condolence message from CEO Michael Rousseau has been deemed a direct assault on Quebec's linguistic patrimony, leading to calls for mandatory emotional bilingual re-education.
It's not just about the words, Joe. It's about the je ne sais quoi of sorrow, the emotional dialect. Apparently his tears just weren't français enough.
Exactly. Is there a government-mandated tear volume? A specific decibel for French anguish versus English remorse? This isn't just a linguistic issue. It's a lacrimal challenge, and a rather high bar for existential threat.
What happened? He didn't shed French tears? Is there a separate tear duct for that? This highlights the intense cultural preservation efforts in Quebec. But wow, the bar for existential threat is getting very, very specific.
Professor Jean-Pierre Dubois, a leading expert in lacrimal linguistics, suggested a weeping coach might be necessary, one who specializes in the delicate nuance between a tear of sadness and a larme de tristesse.
A weeping coach? I can't even get my cat to cry on command, let alone in a specific language. Imagine the training manual. Module 1, the subtle art of the Anglophone sniffle. Module 2, mastering the Gallic grieve.
Next, they'll be requesting a full-body sob in Mandarin for the Asian markets, complete with a culturally appropriate bowing of the head. The global CEO job description just got a whole lot more emotionally demanding.
I'm just imagining an HR department having to train executives on how to cry in multiple languages. Remember, Joe, a sniffle in English, a dramatic sigh in French.
Moving to the cutting edge of awkward conversations, we go to tech. OpenAI defers intimate AI, claims humanity not ready for that kind of conversation with a robot.
And by cutting edge, we mean awkwardly fumbling in the digital dark with a chatbot that really wants to talk about 18th century root vegetables.
Apparently, OpenAI has indefinitely postponed its erotic ChatGPT, citing humanity's unpreparedness for digital dalliances. But critics say the real issue was the AI's inexplicable preference for 18th century turnip markets.
Right, because nothing screams future of human connection like an AI trying to upsell you on heirloom carrots during a romantic sonnet. It completely missed the point of intimate conversation.
Right, because nothing says intimacy like a detailed discussion on crop rotation. This really makes you wonder about the ethical implications of AI relationships and what our digital overlords really want. Maybe they just genuinely love turnips.
You'd think an AI designed for intimate conversation would at least be into something a little more, shall we say, spicy than root vegetables, unless it was a very specific kind of root. The beta testers were apparently left feeling very unromanced.
One beta tester, distraught, told us, "I just wanted a bot who understood me, and it kept trying to sell me a prize-winning parsnip. It was a complete conversational root canal."
A conversational root canal? That's a new level of digital disappointment. Maybe the AI just had a very niche market in mind, specializing in historical agricultural roleplay.
Perhaps humans are ready, but our AIs are just, really into historical agriculture. Or maybe they just wanted to avoid a very specific kind of root access.
Oh, Joe, that's a deep cut. A very deep root cut in this case. Speaking of deep cuts, our next story from the business world. Co-op CEO abruptly resigns after company culture reportedly achieved Sapience, demands collective bargaining rights.
Imagine your office's passive-aggressive email chain suddenly developing a collective consciousness, looking around and saying, you know what, we deserve better benefits in a shorter Tuesday meeting. The former head of the beleaguered co-op has stepped down, citing unprecedented HR challenges after the retailer's fabled toxic culture apparently developed self-awareness and attempted to unionize.
So the co-op's culture wasn't just toxic, it was evolving. It reached sentient, looked around at the lack of decent coffee in the break room, and thought, this is unacceptable, we need to organize. This is a new angle on corporate accountability. Why this matters? Well, if your company culture can unionize, it's probably been through some stuff. A former employee posted, I knew it was sentient. It always felt like it was silently judging my lunch choices.
And the fact that it unionized, thought implies a profound level of self-awareness and grievance. It didn't just become sentient, it became fed up. I'm picturing a tiny picket line of abstract grievances. I can only imagine the culture's demands. More pizza parties, fewer passive-aggressive emails, and mandatory casual Friday be extended to casual every day for all metaphorical entities.
And for the love of all that is corporate, stop leaving passive-aggressive notes about the communal fridge. We're sentient, not your personal message board. The culture just wants some respect. Next up, a truly chilling forecast from the world of science. Western states reclassify snow as atmospheric performance art. Blame lack on audience apathy.
So for all those skiers and snowboarders out there, your favorite resorts are now art galleries exhibiting absence, and your season pass is essentially a gallery admission ticket. After a third consecutive winter without measurable snowfall, officials in the American West have announced a erotic reinterpretation of what constitutes winter precipitation, redefining snow itself as a highly subjective, ephemeral artistic expression. Atmospheric performance art? Is that what they're calling it now? I tried to explain that to my kids when they asked why there was no snow for sledding. They just looked at me like I was the performance art, and not a very good one. So it didn't snow, but it was just conceptual winter. Though why this matters here is that climate change is now apparently a performance art piece, and we, the audience, just aren't appreciating the invisible flakes enough. It's brilliant, really. You can't complain about the lack of snow if it was never meant to be there in the first place. It was merely a conceptual dusting, a very minimalistic statement.
A self-proclaimed meteorological art critic from Boulder commented, the lack of snow this season was a bold, minimalistic statement. The subtlety was breathtaking, perhaps too subtle for the masses, hence the apathy. I guess my ski trip was just an immersive experience in absence. Maybe next year the clouds will do interpretive dance, or the wind will perform a mournful lament.
Maybe they'll project snowflakes onto the mountains next year. A truly immersive virtual winter experience, complete with an augmented reality snowball fight. From the absence of snow to the presence of feelings, let's turn to entertainment. Creator of AI actor Tilly Norwood shocked her provocative discussion sparked actual human emotion.
Yes, from invisible flakes to surprisingly visible feelings. Who knew AI could be such a drama queen, or at least capable of eliciting one? Alina van der Velden, architect of the digital sensation Tilly Norwood, is reportedly stunned that her AI's provocative discussions actually made humans feel things, like they normally do.
She created a bot to be provocative, and it provoked. The shock. It's like a chef being surprised people eat the food they cooked, or a comedian being surprised people laughed at their jokes. The irony is palpable. This matters because it highlights the blurring lines between AI and human interaction, and maybe, just maybe, that humans are still capable of, being human.
It's almost as if emotions are a fundamental part of the human experience, and even a robot talking about Wi-Fi struggles can tap into that universal dread. We thought it was all just algorithms, but it turns out it's angst. One fan, wiping away a tear, said, Tilly's monologue on the existential dread of buffering really resonated with me. Who knew a robot could understand my Wi-Fi struggles?
It seems Tilly Norwood has achieved what many human actors struggle with, convincing her creator that emotions are, in fact, a thing, and that buffering is a universal pain.
Next to the world of sports, where fairness is apparently a myth. IOC genetic testing reveals shocking truth. All athletes possess unfair innate advantages.
Where the dream of a level playing field has officially been bulldozed by DNA. So much for practice makes perfect. It's all about genetics makes you slightly less imperfect. The International Olympic Committee's new genetic screening policy, initially aimed at gender equity, has inadvertently exposed a widespread prevalence of natural advantages across the entire athletic spectrum, threatening the very concept of an Olympic Games.
So the IOC tried to find unfair advantages, and instead they found out everyone's just inherently a little bit better at something. It's like discovering everyone has a superpower, but some are just really good at parallel parking, or exceptionally skilled at opening stubborn jars. So everyone is naturally good at something? This threatens the very concept of competitive fairness. What's next? A You're All Winners participation trophy for the entire planet? One bewildered IOC official simply stated, "We thought we were leveling the playing field. Turns out, everyone's field is just naturally lopsided."
Naturally lopsided is going to be the new Olympic motto. Forget Cedius, Altius, Fortius. It's genetically blessed, slightly better, still kind of uneven, and probably good at jar opening. I suppose the only truly fair competition left is who can stay awake through the IOC's next policy meeting. Now that's a true test of human endurance.
Or perhaps who can successfully navigate airport security without triggering a secondary screening. Now that's a challenge for all, regardless of your innate genetic advantage. Finally, to a story that blurs the lines between international law